Hi there, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So there's quite a lot of racing tomorrow, quite a lot to get through. Horses that I've highlighted for different races, all running tomorrow. So let's dive straight in. And the first race we'll talk about is the juvenile Grade 2 hurdle at Cheltenham, where Comfort Zone is our top rated horse and Jupiter de Gite is probably the biggest danger. I actually think Jupiter de Gite, on his R figure, he would win this race. The concern would be that he was 66 to 1 when winning. Um, why did he go off 66 to 1? Why was he not, even if they didn't fancy him that strongly, why was he still not 12s, 14s for a race? Was it a bit of a fluke or a bit of a real surprise? Um, Comfort Zone, I hope, goes and wins the race. I hope Dixon Cove doesn't. The reason I don't want Dixon Cove to win is I highlighted Dixon Cove a couple of times. Um, let's just move tab to being the what I thought was the best horse in the Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival against the favourite. Dixon Cove is currently 16, so I thought it was a very good run when second to Comfort Zone at Chepstow in the Coral finale. I think she's £5 better off as well. I put here, dropped £5 to 125, finishing second in a Grade 1, beaten just a neck. I wouldn't be running him, it's actually a her, apologies for that. Wouldn't be running her again until the Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. Unfortunately, Paul is. He's running her in this race. I'm just hoping that she finds 1-2 good again, and the handicapper leaves her alone for the Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. As for the winner of the race, I think Comfort Zone, because I do wonder whether this Jupiter de Gite surprised everybody by winning at 66 to 1, and maybe it wasn't as good as it looked. So let's move on to, let's have a look at the odds. Comfort Zone is 9-4 favourite. Dixon Cove 3 is 100 to 30. I'm hoping, as I said, third place would be perfect, to be honest. The 12-10 at the Time for Novices Handicap Chase. Now, for me, this is normally won by a horse who is quite good. Last year, the Imperial Alcazar won this race before going on to finish second at the Cheltenham Festival. Simply the Bets won it a few years ago before winning at the Cheltenham Festival. That year, the first and second actually won at the Cheltenham Festival. It's a race where I think you have to have a bit of class to win it. And that really points me towards Stage Star. I'm surprised that Stage Star isn't favourite. Fire Dancer didn't beat a lot, and we can see that Fire Dancer has only got this 136.1 over here for the victory. Stage Star is a former Challow Hurdle winner, a Grade 1 winner. Things didn't quite go right 2 runs ago when sent off 2 to 7 for a Grade 2. 2 to 7 for a Grade 2 now turns up in a handicap and yet still isn't favourite. I think Stage Star should be favourite. I thought what was interesting is Paul Nicholls did a similar sort of thing with Brave Man's Game last year, running in a handicap, off top weight, giving away a load of weight and still winning. And I think Stage Star can do very similar. The other horse that caught my eye for this race was Panic Attack, who won at Huntingdon back in November, and I tweeted, Hope Connections, keep her at this trip and don't go back to 3 Mile. She's back at Cheltenham. She's won here before, she's ran well here before. I think she's probably, in my opinion, the biggest danger to Stage Star, not Fire Dancer. But I'm hoping that Stage Star can win this before potentially going back into graded company. You can get 9-2 about Stage Star. You can see Panic Attack, there was a bit of support for Panic Attack. Yeah, 9-2 about Stage Star I thought was bigger than, well, definitely bigger than I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be the favourite. Moving on to the cross-country race, and there's a few that we can talk about here. We can talk about Easy's Land, who's down to a mark of 130, and I put cross-country at Cheltenham in late January as a handicap. Crazy that last time he ran in a handicap, he was running off 167, £37 higher. If this brings him back to his best, he would win this. Simple as that. If he's anywhere near, 150, if he runs to a mark of 150, he wins it because he's only rated 130. Obviously, for me, the biggest danger is Delta Work, and we highlighted Delta Work at the beginning of the season as a horse to follow, and I said I think he'll win the cross country again this year, but a lot easier with no Tiger Roll in the race, and that should mean he turns up to the National a bit fresher. So I think he could win this race on Saturday, tomorrow, sorry. If he doesn't, and he just, gets second or third, I fully expect him to turn up to the Cheltenham Festival and take all of the beating. Obviously, that's not a handicap, and then go into the Grand National. But yeah, I was surprised at Easy's Land how much he's dropped. If we keep working our way through, we can see that Easy's Land is currently being supported, as is Delta Work. The two that I highlight have been supported. 5-2 now Delta Work, and Easy's Land down to 10s. As I said, if he bounces back to anywhere near his best, he wins this. Delta Work would not be able to give away that amount of weight to Easy's Land. The other horse that I just go back to here was Desharaba. I'm surprised they're not running at this race at Sandown. They're going to Cheltenham for the cross country, and he's 33-1. Big price. I don't really think he has a chance of winning this. I'm surprised they missed the race at Sandown. Moving on, we have the Clarence House between Energumene, Edwardstone, Editor de Gite, Amarillo Sky, Sizing Potsy, and Funambule Savola. Now, I hope Editor de Gite can serve it up to Energumene and Edwardstone, because we've suggested that Editor de Gite is possibly the best each-way selection in the Champion Chase. Look at his form when making the running, over 2 mile, 1-1-1, unseat 1-1. And he was going to win. No, he wasn't. He was going to get beat at Ascot, but that would have made it 3 defeats from 3 at Ascot. He just doesn't like Ascot. He's good at Cheltenham, Editor de Gite, and if there is a chink in the armour, or they're not fully wound up for this, especially Energumene and Edwardstone, who possibly didn't have, they were meant to run last week in this race, whereas I think Editor de Gite wasn't in that time, and he might not have been as tuned up, and now he is, whereas the other two might be slightly over the top. So I'm hoping Editor de Gite can give them a really good race, and unsurprisingly, he is being supported. Little bits of money, 12s, 10s and 11s in most places now. But yeah, I'm hoping that Editor de Gite can go really well there. Moving on to a maiden hurdle at Uttoxeter, just wanted to highlight that Rambo T is back out again. I thought his second last time out was a very good effort. You can see that I highlighted when he was beaten by Gavega. It was a very good, decent R figures, beaten by a smart sort. I thought he would have gone handicapping. Handicap marker 116 looked very workable, but they've stuck to Maiden Company, and yeah, I expect Rambo T to take all of the beating there. As you can see there was no odds. This one I don't actually have any previous tweets or posts from, but I'm surprised Boot Hill is so close to Tommy's Oscar in the market. I think Boot Hill wins this. Boot Hill's looked a much better chaser than Tommy's Oscar, and I don't think the others are good enough. So I was surprised that Boot Hill was as big as 5-4. I thought he would be odds on, and Tommy's Oscar closer to 2-1. We then have the 2.5 mile handicap, which features a few that I've highlighted previously. There's one that I don't want to win. There's one that I think is getting one more chance, and one that could be the one for the race, maybe. So we'll go through them. The first one I highlighted was Il Ridotto. He's down to 138, which would mean a £5 lower mark than in the Grand Annual, when compared to last year, when he didn't want that soft going. He gets better going. If he gets better going in the Grand Annual, I think he'd be very competitive. This is again over 2.5 mile. They have put the cheek pieces on. Paul is clearly adamant that this trip will suit. There was a post I made earlier this year or last year, some early 2023. So I think it was right at the beginning of this year. That he could do this very similar to Le Presien, who then went over 2.5 mile. Dropped back to 2 mile eventually for the Grand Annual and went and won it. I'm hoping Il Ridotto looks like he travels well into it again before dropping away. If he finishes 4th or 5th, surely they've got to drop him back in trip. Another horse that caught my eye in this race was Phoenix Way. I thought when he ran at Chepstow, he was given far too much to do. It was a very, very soft ride, I felt, on Phoenix Way. I thought he was going to go for that race at Kempton, which has I think it was 85 grand to the winner last year. Probably not. Maybe he's going here instead. Obviously, he could have run at Ascot, but that was abandoned. This race is worth 56 grand, so it is a race worth going for, and I think he'll go very close at Phoenix Way. And the final horse that it will frustrate me if he wins, I have a feeling his jockey might let him down again, and that's Simply the Bets. I did make a tweet that he dropped in the handicap. He dropped 4 to 145, and I said that's £4 lower than when winning in 2020. It would be very interesting in the play if David gave up the ride to Harry Cobden. Imagine if he, does he want to win the race as a jockey, or does he want his horse to win the race? If he wants his horse to win the race, personally, I think he goes, okay, Harry, you can take over at the Cheltenham Festival. He could be rated if he disappoints tomorrow, he could be rated like 142, 141 sort of mark, and that would give him a huge chance if he bounced back under a good ride from Harry Cobden. Looking at the prices for tomorrow, Iridoto, there is a bit of support. That's not a surprise. I think Phoenix Way, there's a little bit as well. That's probably, for me, a good bet in the race. I think he'll go really well. Iridoto might end up fading again, which would be very frustrating if you back Iridoto. And Simply the Bets, I think, in this type of competitive handicap, David Maxwell might find that his riding style just lets him down slightly. So I think Phoenix Way is probably a good bet in this race. If you want to cover yourself with Iridoto, it's probably not a bad bet. If those cheap pieces help him finish his race, then he does go close. If they don't, then hopefully he ends up in the Grand Annual. Moving on to the Mares Grade 2 at Doncaster. Surely Epatante wins this. You can see the R figure is massive compared to the rest. She wins this without coming off the bridle. And with that in mind, hopefully the handicapper leaves her alone, because there is a potential plan that I saw that, if she turned up in it, she'd go off favourite in my opinion. That's the County Hurdle of 153. Imagine if she ran there instead of the Mares Hurdle or the Champion Hurdle. No point running in the Champion Hurdle. She's going to take on Constitution Hill. She's been beaten twice comfortably by Constitution Hill. If she runs in the mares, there's a few mares that are quite interesting, quite good. Go for the County Hurdle and you win that. I really think she would win that off 153. But it's whether they really want to go for a handicap with a former Champion Hurdle winner. Epatante is 2 to 7 for tomorrow, unsurprisingly. Moving on, we have the Mares Grade 3 Novice Hurdle at Fairyhouse. Hauka du Taber is the one that catches my eye. I hope she can show that she is a real useful prospect. If she can beat Ashrow Diamond, she will go really close in the Mares Novice Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival, which I've currently highlighted her as the horse against the favourite each way, that I feel is the best each way in the race at the moment. That's Hauka du Taber. So if she wins tomorrow, that would certainly enhance my thoughts on Hauka du Taber. You can see that she's currently 2 to 1. I actually thought she'd be a little bit closer to Ashrow Diamond than that. But yeah, I'm hoping she can go really, really close and really well there under Davy Russell. Recently retired and returns Davy Russell. Moving on, we have the Cotswold Chase. Protectorat was 3rd in the Gold Cup last year, and I don't know why Protectorat can go any better this year. Frodon should be too old. Noble Yates was very impressive last time at Aintree. Dusart looked like he needed to run over hurdles, but this is a real step up in class. Sounds Russian ran a really good race at Newcastle in a good handicap. There wasn't really a handicap, it was a graded race just with handicap weights. And Ahoy Senor, if Ahoy Senor is going to go well in the Gold Cup, for me, Ahoy Senor has got to win tomorrow. And we highlighted Ahoy Senor at the beginning of the season as the one for the Gold Cup. So I'm giving him one more chance. I hope he goes and wins tomorrow, and suddenly people will start believing he is a horse for the Gold Cup. You can see he's about 8 to 1 for tomorrow. Yeah, if he beats Noble Yates and Protectorat, who are like 2nd and 3rd favourite for the Gold Cup, then he would go and be in everybody's estimations. This is a proper Gold Cup. are those other ones good enough, though, or Hoyson or Noble Yates good enough to challenge Protectorate and to put themselves in the Gold Cup frame? Parmenion runs tomorrow at Fairyhouse in the maiden hurdle. I thought his third effort was good, and actually his R figure is bigger than I thought it was going to be, suggesting it was a really good effort when a lot of the hurdles were actually taken out. I did suggest that maybe he was going to be aimed at the county hurdle, but as rightly people pointed out, that he would need 4 runs. That was only his first. He's unlikely to get 3 more. He could end up, I think he could run here, he could run in February, and then potentially at the beginning of March. But yeah, the county hurdle's probably not going to happen. He might end up in the Supreme Novice, a bit like Bring on the Night last year, to run in it, to run okay, but not actually be good enough. And there's no odds for Parmenion tomorrow. The Cleve Hurdle, I really hope Paisley Park continues his good form. You can see his R figure is really good. And in the race, only Dashel Drush has gone anywhere near the figures that Paisley Park can. Yeah, Dashel Drush is probably going to be at the front, making all the running, trying to make all the running. Paisley Park is going to be finishing fastest. It's how quickly can he pick up Paisley Park. I highlighted that I felt Paisley Park was the best each way in the Stayers Hurdle a few weeks ago, when Flooring Porter was actually favourite still. Was 14s, won't be 14s tomorrow if he wins the Cleve Hurdle. 5 to 4 for the Cleve Hurdle. I think you'll know, well, you won't know actually. You won't know until the live with Paisley Park, because he could be 3 lengths off them, jump in the last and still pick them up. Just wouldn't want to get too far behind. Dashel Drush is probably going to go forward and try and make this a strongly run affair. The Skyboat Handicap Chase is a race that I'm really looking forward to. There's a few in this that I'm quite keen on, to be honest. The first one we will look at is Mr. Coffee. He made my horses to follow. I do wonder whether the Kim Muir is the target, and if he wins tomorrow off 140, he probably won't be Kim Muir bound. They've really looked after Mr. Coffee this year. Every time he's gone to run, they've taken him out if the ground wasn't right. Finished second last time out, but probably needed the run. I think he'll improve for that, and I think he'll go very close here. If they're going for it, they should be. It's 57 grand, and then they can look at what they want to do after that. A couple of others that are very interesting. Demachine dropped £2 last time out to 138. I said it looks like he needs to go back up and trip, which he is. He's back up to the 3 mile trip. Was meant to run in the Swinley. Or I hoped he was going to run in the Swinley Handicap. That was, I believe, at the beginning of... Oh no, that's still to come, so he could still turn up there. I think he's got things in his favour here, though, and wouldn't surprise me if he ran a good race. I think they had Storm Control run well in this last year or the year before. Did he even win it? He might have even won it. And the other horse that's interesting is Captain Orr. He's dropped so much in the handicap. He is so well handicapped. He is £2 out of the handicap tomorrow, but even if he was £2 high, would I say he's well handicapped? Yes, absolutely. I've highlighted a few times that there's a few races that he could go in. Obviously, this is now a pot worth winning, 56 grand. I think I tweeted a few weeks ago about him. Here it is. Captain Orr runs tomorrow at Cheltenham in a race worth 13 grand to the winner. Why would they run in that and actually go for it? He disappointed. Tomorrow it's worth 56. It is a race worth going for at Doncaster. So I do think he'll be trying, and he's definitely got a big chance as well. If I had to pick one out of Mr. Coffee, Demachine and Captain Orr, Captain Orr is well handicapped but out of form. He may bounce back, but he may also be just trying to get a little bit of a good run without winning, with that Kempton race in mind. Demachine could be similar for Ascot. I think I would go for Mr. Coffee of those 3 in that race, but I do think they will all run well. You can see that Captain Orr, you can get 30 to 2, 6s in most places. Mr. Coffee, a bit of money around for him. 9s, but as short as 7s. Demachine is 12s. Bet UK, whatever they are, have shortened him to 9s. Garlaw is very good, but I think Garlaw could find there's a few well handicapped horses against him here. We'll keep going and move on to the Grade 2 at Cheltenham, and there's a horse that really catches my eye here, and that is Bonte. Bonte made my horses to follow at the beginning of the season. I thought she would win the Champion Bumper last year. Had really good form, but never made the Champion Bumper. She's had 2 runs over hurdles this year, and interestingly, she's not yet won. Sorry, she's had the 1 run, sorry. She finished second in a bumper on her return at Cheltenham, and then she finished second in a 2-mile hurdle at Lingfield when she was running all the way to the line. I think she'll improve for that. That's obviously got a good experience, and she's really good around Cheltenham. And it would not surprise me if she took all the beating here. I think she's going to go very, very well. You can see that she is currently 14s and 16s, and I think that's quite a big price for her. I think she's going to go very close in this, despite having not won. Yeah, she gets all of the weight from all of the horses, obviously, because she is a mare. And yeah, I think she's going to go very close in this Grade 2, to be honest. Final race, there's a couple again that I like in this. It's the 2-mile handicap at Cheltenham. First one is Mai Tai. He made my horses to follow when I thought it would be aimed at something like the Silver Trophy over 2.5 mile, and then back in graded races. They stepped him up to 3 mile on his first run this season. He was far too keen, pulled away his chance. He just, ruined his chance by pulling far too hard and didn't get home. He still came into the straight looking like he was going to play a big part. Dropped back to 2 miles. I would have probably gone 2.5, personally. But for a horse who was running in graded races, and I think he finished second to John Bon last season, none of these would have finished second to John Bon. So I think he goes very close. I think he takes all the beating here over this 2-mile trip, if he can keep up, which I think he should be able to with the soft ground. The other horse that's definitely worth looking at a bigger price is History Bear, who was third in this race last year behind Severance and Cormier. They both went on to run well, and one of them won the Moor Battle Hurdle at the Cheltenham at Kelso, before Severance ran well at Aintree. Cormier ran well at the Cheltenham Festival. It was a good race, and this is probably where History Bear's been aimed at this season. Did make my horse to follow, rated 129. I think he's a little bit lower than that now. Let's just quickly skim down here. Yeah, running off 126. Jordan takes another 3 off as well. I think he can certainly run a big race, and he's 14s and 16s. He's probably the each-way selection in that race for me. So if we just spin through them really quickly again, I'm hoping Dixon Cove doesn't win, because I want her in the juvenile handicap hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival. I think Stage Star takes all the beating. I think Easy's Land could go very close. Delta Work is probably the one to beat, because we're kind of he's more reliable. I'm hoping Editor de G can go really close against Energumene and Edwardstone. Rambo T should win the maiden hurdle. Boot Hill, I think, beats Tommy's Oscar. I probably like Phoenix Way the most here. Il Rodotto with a small bet as well. I'm hoping Simply the Bets runs okay, and the owner goes, okay, I'll give up the ride next time. Epatante should win, and hopefully handicap mark stays the same, just in case. How could do Taber? I hope she wins and cements herself as a good novice this year. Hoisinor needs to win this if he's going to be a Gold Cup horse. I probably won't be backing him though. Parmenion, probably wins that, and then we'll see what they do with him, but I just wanted to highlight him. Paisley Park, I think, takes all the beating here. I think he will catch Dashel Drasher. Mr. Coffee would be my one of the 3 here, but I am worried about Demachine and Captain Orr, who both look well handicapped. I think Bonte can run a really big race in the Grade 2 Novice Hurdle, despite having yet to win over hurdles. And I think Might Eye takes all the beating here, but History Bear can also run a good race.